Happy Thursday, class. Sorry I can't be with you today, but I'm off getting some awesome training. I just wanted to give you a little recap of a few things we talked about Tuesday in class. Here we're looking at a segment. The segment might be called segment AB, and I've drawn that segment so that it's basically attached to a scale. So if I were to write this symbol, then what symbol or what does that symbol imply? You bet. That's asking for the length of segment AB or the measure of segment AB. So if we were going to try to find the measure of segment AB, then we would literally just count from point A to point B. So I'll give you a moment to do that. And I don't know about you, but I got 9 units. Now another way to get 9 units is to take the coordinates of B, which is 15, and subtract from that the coordinates of A, which are 6, and 15 minus 6 also leaves 9. Now another topic we're going to want to talk about with segments is this thing called the midpoint. So still got segment AB, and I'm interested in where is the midpoint? Where is the middle of segment AB? So I'll give you a few moments to think about that. And if you think back to some of your middle school math, you might think of the midpoint as being the average between these two. So if we were to average the coordinates of point A and B, then we would have 6 plus 15 divided by 2. 6 plus 15 is 21. 21 divided by 2 is about 10 and a half. So that means at 10 and a half, which is right about here, that would be the midpoint. Let's see if that makes sense. We can count from A, 1, 2, 3, 4 and a half, and then we can count backwards from B, 1, 2, 3, 4 and a half. So in both directions, we get a distance of 4 and a half. So this point, which we might label M, then is the midpoint of segment AB. Now, what if I didn't want to go halfway from point A to point B, but what if I wanted to go 1/3 of the distance from A to B? Well, let's think back about the distance from A to B. What is the measure of segment AB? And if you'll recall earlier, we found that, and it was 9. And if I want to go 1/3 of that distance, then 1/3 of 9 is 3. So I want to move 3 units from point A in the direction of point B. So let's try that. 1, 2, 3. So the coordinate or the place where we would be 1/3 of the distance from A to point B is the point with coordinate 9, and I'll just label that T to represent 1/3. All right, here's a new word for us, bisect. What do you suppose the word bisect means? I'll give you a moment to respond there. And you might have guessed bisect means to cut in half, to make 2 equal parts. So as we get going in geometry, you'll understand that we're going to create quite a vocabulary of terms that we've got to get comfortable with. So let's look at how bisect comes into play when we're dealing with angles. So I'm going to draw a couple of angles here. Actually, I'm just going to draw one angle to start with, and let's label it ATB. So here's angle ATB. What if I tell you ray TY bisects angle ATB? Well, what that would mean is I've got a new ray in here, and its name is TY, and bisect means that, hey, it cuts the previous angle in half. So it's going to cut angle ATB into two equal angles. So this angle and this angle would have the same measure. So then we could say that the measure of angle ATY is equal to the measure of angle YTB. And I think that, along with the angle addition postulate and the segment addition postulate and that talk on endpoints that we just had, or midpoints that we just had moments ago, I think that'll get you ready for today's practice session. So I'll see you guys Friday, and let's really get after it today. Try to get all those problems worked, check with your neighbors, talk about the math. Remember, you learn 70% of what you communicate talk about with others. So I really feel like this talking part is important.